You ever stop and think, is morality just a matter of opinion? Or is there something solid, a real foundation for right and wrong that actually applies to everyone? Well, today we're going to dig into this really fascinating idea that says, yes, there is a universal blueprint for how we're meant to flourish. All right, let's get into it.
You hear it all the time, right? Hey, what's true for you isn't true for me. And when we're talking about morality, that can sound pretty liberating. But it also leaves us with this huge question. I mean, if good is just an opinion, what are we left with? Do we have any kind of real moral compass to guide us?
So, yeah, how did we end up in this moral maze? Well, the philosophy we're exploring today points to a very specific starting point for all the confusion. The idea is the confusion really kicks in when we start seeing ourselves not as creatures with a given nature and purpose, but as the sole authors of our own reality. The argument goes that when we make ourselves our own masters, we completely lose any outside reference point for what our lives are even for. And what happens then? We're just left making up our own rules, which, surprise, often end up clashing with each other. But, this idea of an outside guide, it's not new at all. I mean, we're talking over 2,000 years ago. The Roman statesman Cicero was already arguing for a true law, one that's in tune with nature itself. And for him, this wasn't some local custom. It was universal, it was eternal. To disobey it, well, that wasn't just breaking a rule. No, for Cicero, it was like running away from your own self, a violation of your very humanity. Okay, so if all that moral confusion is the problem, what's the solution? Well, this way of thinking we're exploring today proposes a really structured, universal system for understanding it all. And it starts with a really big idea. And here it is, the eternal law. Now, think of this like the universe's master blueprint, or maybe its operating system. It's the deep, rational plan that's guiding everything, from the way the planets move to the way a tiny seed grows into a huge tree. It's this core idea that the whole universe isn't chaos, it's orderly and it's purposeful. And honestly, you can see hints of this grand design everywhere you look. I mean, the Earth doesn't just randomly decide to orbit the sun, right? It follows this incredibly precise path. The seasons don't just show up whenever they feel like it. They follow a predictable, reliable cycle. There's this deep, logical order built right into the fabric of the physical world.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting, and it's all about a crucial difference. You see, for the physical world, we're talking planets, rocks, animals, this law is imposed. A rock doesn't get a vote on gravity. It just falls. It has no choice. But for us humans, as free, rational beings, the law is proposed. It's offered to us. We have to use our minds to understand it, and then our free will to actually choose it. And that right there brings us to what's called natural law. It's basically the human way of plugging into that grand design. So if the eternal law is the universe's giant operating system, then the natural law is our personal user manual. It's like the maker's instructions written directly onto our human nature. So what does this natural law actually look like? What are its key features? Well, first off, it's objective. It's based on solid reason, not just our changing opinions or feelings. It's also universal, meaning it applies to everyone, everywhere, because, hey, we all share the same basic human nature. It's unchanging for that same reason. And maybe most importantly, it's something we discover, not something we invent. It's kind of like how a scientist discovers gravity. They don't make it up, they just figure out how it works. All right, so where do you even begin with something like this? Well, the whole system is built on one single foundational principle that's supposed to be totally self-evident. It's the absolute bedrock of all moral thinking. Do good and avoid evil. That's it. It's meant to be as fundamental to morality as saying something can't be true and false at the same time as to logic. It's just the starting point. Okay, that's fair. But what does good even mean? That sounds pretty vague, right? Well, the idea here is that we find the clues by just looking at our own basic natural inclinations. I mean, think about it. We all have this drive to preserve our own lives, right? To be fruitful, to create new life and pass on what's good. And because we're rational creatures, we have this deep desire to seek knowledge, to seek truth, and to connect with others. These fundamental drives, they're like the raw data that tells us what's genuinely good for us. Okay, so we have this map, the natural law, But how are we supposed to read it? Well, according to this framework, we all come pre-installed with a special tool that's designed for exactly this job. And that tool is called right reason. The best way to think about it is like an inner compass. It's our built-in power, our intellectual ability to read our own nature, to understand this natural law, and figure out which actions are going to lead us toward true fulfillment and which ones, well, are going to lead us way off course.
And this breaks down exactly how that inner compass is supposed to work in 3 basic steps. Okay, so first, there's the technical term synderesis, but don't worry about that word. Just think of it as our built-in gut feeling for the absolute basics, that core instinct to do good, avoid evil. Then, number 2, our reason starts building on that foundation. This is where moral wisdom comes in. We start applying that basic principle to figure out more specific, universal rules, like, hey, lying is deception, so that's not good. And finally, step 3, you have to make the call in the real world. That's prudence, the skill of applying those big rules to the messy, complex, specific situations we all find ourselves in every single day.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a lot of rules, a lot of law. So it brings up a really important question. What about our freedom? Where does that fit into all this? Well, let's look at how this framework paints a completely different picture of what it truly means to be free. See, the most important thing to get here is that this natural law isn't some external traffic cop yelling rules at you. It's meant to be an internal guide. It's written on the human heart, as the saying goes. It's really the voice of our own reason, showing us the path to becoming the best, most complete version of ourselves. And this completely flips a very common modern idea on its head. In this way of thinking, law isn't the enemy of freedom, it's actually what makes real freedom possible. You see, true freedom isn't just being able to do whatever you feel like in the moment, it's the ability to choose what is truly good. And the law? Well, the law is simply the map that shows you where to find that true good and ultimately true happiness.
But there's a warning that comes with all of this. The thinking goes that if you habitually make bad choices, if you keep choosing smaller, lesser goods over the real thing, it's like you're damaging that inner compass. You're letting the needle get rusty. And over time, that can actually corrupt your ability to reason clearly, making it harder and harder to even know what's truly good for you in the first place. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. If we're all supposedly born with this moral blueprint, with this inner compass to guide us, then why is it still so hard to find our way? Why do we disagree so much? Why do we still get so incredibly lost? It's a powerful question, and it's a reminder that even when you have a map, the journey itself is rarely simple.